This story begins in the East African country called Djibouti. Here, laborers work in a graveyard, digging graves to make ends meet. Among them is Omar, who has been digging graves for several years. One of his co-workers, Hassan, tells a story about a mouse and a cat, which makes everyone standing there laughing. Omar and Hassan are good friends, having worked together for a long time. After finishing their work, they head home. Omar lives in a slum area of the city but is not originally from this place. He came here from a small village due to unemployment. However, life in the city isn't any better for him. Omar's wife, Nasra, is suffering from a serious kidney disease. If she doesn't receive timely treatment, she could lose her life. This deeply troubles Omar, as he doesn't have enough money for her treatment. Omar is very poor. Even after digging graves, he doesn't earn enough to feed his family 2 meals a day. Omar decides to return to his village. But Naz refuses, and Omar agrees because he doesn't want to cause her more distress. They also have a son named Mahad. While Mahad should be in school during the day, he roams around playing and returns home without any fear. His mother is sick and his father spends the entire day looking for work. Near their home is a hospital where Omar and his co-workers sit outside daily, waiting for news of a dead body so they can get work digging graves. They wait for hours under the scorching sun. They cannot return home empty-handed because if they don't earn anything, their children will be hungry. Omar's sandals are completely worn out. He keeps trying to fix them, but they keep falling apart. Just then, an ambulance arrives and everyone rushes to it. But there's no dead body inside. A nurse informs them that the patient in the ambulance is alive, so they don't need their services. Hearing this, Omar becomes dejected. The day is almost over and he hasn't earned a single penny. Hassan says they've been waiting here since morning, and it looks like no body is coming today, so he leaves. Omar still holds out hope but eventually leaves as well after all his co-workers leave. On his way back, Omar helps a woman load her belongings into her car at the market. However, instead of paying him properly, she gives him a few coins as if she's giving him charity. When Omar asks for more money, the woman ignores him and drives away. While in the market, Omar sees his son Mahad running around. Mahad should have been in school at this time, but instead, he's wandering the market. Omar tries to follow him, but Mahad disappears into the crowd. In the evening, Omar goes to the place where Mahad spends time with his friends. It turns out Mahad spends the entire day loitering around with his friends instead of going to school or taking care of his sick mother. Omar asks Mahad to come home, but Mahad angrily storms off. A neighborhood boy, Ali, is also present and Omar blames him for leading Mahad astray. Afterward, Omar leaves and goes to a shop where he and his friend Hassan have tea every morning. Hassan has a crush on a girl who works there but doesn't dare to talk to her. Later, we see Nasra, who dressed up nicely. She wants to attend a wedding and convinces Omar to wear clean clothes and accompany her. However, at the wedding, Nasra falls seriously ill and collapses. Omar rushes her to a doctor. The doctor warns him that if Naz doesn't receive immediate treatment, she could die. If the infection doesn't subside with medicine, she'll need surgery, which would require them to travel to Ethiopia. He searches for work every day, but no one needs. Nasra reminds Omar that she too had dreams. She wanted to start her own business, send Mahad to a good school. As she talks about her dreams, she becomes emotional. The next day, Omar visits Mahad's school and learns from his teacher that Mahad hasn't attended for 2 weeks. Omar worries that if Mahad doesn't study, he'll end up like him, doing menial jobs like lifting sacks or digging graves. Omar's entire day is consumed with worry. Why didn't you go to school? He asks. Mahad, out of fear, doesn't answer him. But later, he says, you both don't know how to read or write, so leave me alone too. Saying this, he leaves the house. This deeply hurts Umar. Nasra tells Umar not to yell at him like that, as he is still very young and will gradually understand. The next day, Umar sees Hassan sitting very upset. He asks him, what's the matter? Hassan replies, I couldn't sleep last night because I was thinking about buying a cow. At this point, Umar calls the girl whom Hassan likes. Hassan tries to stop him, but Umar doesn't listen and gets them talking. The girl's name is Najma. She also likes Hassan. In the evening, when Umar returns home, he finds Nasra crying out in pain. Omar takes her to the doctor. The doctor tells him that Nasra needs operation in this hospital, but it will cost $4,000. For Umar, $4,000 is an enormous amount. He doesn't know where you will get that kind of money. He goes to a shop to ask for help and asks the shopkeeper to call Ahmed. Ahmed's wife goes inside and returns, saying Ahmed isn't home. Even though Ahmed is there, Umar feels helpless and doesn't know whether he should steal or rob someone. Thinking about it, tears come to his eyes. That night, Umar goes to several people for help, but everyone refuses. Late at night, he goes to a foreign currency exchange shop. Without saying anything, he stands in front of the counter. He picks up a stone and shows it to the man sitting at the counter. The man threatens to call the police. Hearing this, Umar leaves because he cannot steal or kill anyone. His conscience doesn't allow him, but his circumstances force him. The next day, Omar goes to dig graves with his companions. Omar asks Hassan, "What's the matter? You look very happy today." Hassan tells him, "Najma has agreed to marry me. And it's all possible because of you." He takes out some money from his pocket and gives it to Omar. The money is from all his companions. Though the amount isn't enough to help Umar significantly, he still accepts it as it means a lot to him. When he returns home, Nazra is in pain. Her condition has worsened even more. Omar feels completely helpless and doesn't know what to do. Omar loves his wife dearly and doesn't want to lose her. He tells his son Mahad, "I'm going to our village to seek help. I'll return in 2 to 3 days. Meanwhile, take care of your mother." He takes out some coins from his pocket, gives them to Mahad, and leaves. At night, Mahad goes to his mother. He has started worrying a lot about her because he knows her condition is critical. In the next scene, Omar is shown walking on his journey. It's the second day of his travel. At one point, one of his slippers breaks. He doesn't have enough money to travel by vehicle, so he is walking. Meanwhile, Mahad looks for ways to gather money. On the other hand, Mahad starts wandering here and there to gather money. He cleans car windows and calls out to passengers boarding buses because he wants to help his mother in any way he can. After this, we see Omar, who is struggling to walk barefoot. He reaches a house and asks a woman for help. He requests her to give him an old pair of slippers or shoes if they have any. The woman brings him a pair of heeled sandals. Ahead, there is an uphill path which is very difficult for Omar to climb. The soles of his feet are badly injured. He takes off his shirt and wraps it around his feet. Then he continues his journey. He must reach his village by tomorrow at any cost. This family is also traveling. Omar tells them he will sell his share of sheep and goats in the village and use that money to get his wife treated. On the other hand, Mahad spends as much time as possible with his mother and takes care of her. The next day, we see Omar arriving at his village. Omar's village is a barren place, surrounded by mountains. His 3 brothers live there with their mother. When Omar arrives in his village, everyone looks at him with great surprise. After this, Omar meets his mother. Omar's mother doesn't like Nazra at all, which is perhaps why Nazra never wanted to return to this village. Omar says he has come to claim his share of the sheep and goats. His mother replies that she has already distributed his share among his brothers because there was no one to look after them. This means Omar has nothing left in this village now. However, he doesn't want to return empty-handed, so he goes to his youngest brother and says, "I want my share of the goats back." They decide to resolve the matter by calling a village council, Panchayat. We see some people in the crowd enjoying the fight between brothers, which is quite shameful. The village head announces his decision, saying that Omar will not get any share here, and he should leave. Omar tries to convince his brothers and tells them, "My wife is dying, this village is my last hope." But no one cares. His brothers have nothing to offer but hatred. Omar's last hope shatters completely. In the next scene, we see a woman named Zara, who is Nazra's neighbor. When Zara visits Nazra's house, she screams out because Nazra's condition is very critical. She quickly gets Nazra admitted to a hospital. The doctor tells Mahad to call his father quickly because surgery is very important. But Mahad tells her that he cannot contact his father as there is no way to communicate with the village. The doctor, Yasmin, is puzzled. She talks to the hospital management, but it is of no use, as they refuse to operate without money. That evening, we see Omar sitting under a tree, crying. He sits there for hours. At night, when Omar's brother checks on his goats, he finds that all the goats are missing. He shouts and calls his brothers. The next morning, we see Omar trying to take the stolen goats through a mountainous path. But it is very difficult for him to walk because one of his feet is severely injured. However, his 3 brothers catch up with him and beat him with sticks. Omar is badly injured. His body is covered in blood. His brothers leave him half dead, taking the goats with them. In the next scene, we see Dr. Yasmin. She has convinced the hospital management to operate on Nazra, and now she is out of danger. Hearing this, Mahad is overjoyed. On the other hand, Omar is completely injured and cannot return to the city. He limps along the roadside and collapses there. Meanwhile, Mahad waits for his father by the village road because it has been more than 3 days since he left. Omar is found by a passerby, who places him in the back of his vehicle. In the evening, Mahad is playing football with his friends. Accidentally, his ball rolls into a passing vehicle, which happens to be the one carrying Omar, though Mahad is unaware of this. Mahad and his friends chase the vehicle to retrieve the ball. And with this, the movie ends. This story not only teaches us about love and sacrifice but also reminds us that there are people in the world who struggle for even 2 meals a day. Omar and Nasra's story shows us how unfair life can be, but it also emphasizes the true purpose of humanity, to share each other's pain. If there are people like Omar and Nasra around you, fighting life's darkness, do try to help them. Perhaps your small support could become a ray of hope and light for them.